Good morning and welcome to Music Sunday at UUCB. My name is Brian Baker, pronouns are he, him, his, and I'm the director of music here. Today we're going to explore music and how it helps us through difficult times and into the promise of a beautiful future. Not long ago we had a parking lot service that so many of you attended, and in that service Rod Lowe and Megan Dibble, wearing masks, standing apart from each other but able to hear each other, sang, "I know this rose will open."
I know this rose will
I know
open.
this rose will
I know
open.
my fear will
I know
burn
my
away.
fears will
I
burn
know
away.
my soul will
I
unfurl
know
its
my
wings.
soul will
I know
unfurl its
this
wings.
rose will
I know
open.
this rose will open.
That inspired Deborah Schmidt to write a beautiful poem that she's about to share with us. And then we'll all sing the song that talks about how, despite the struggles, life unfolds into a beautiful new form.
This poem, called I Know This Rose Will Open, was written for Megan and Rod after they performed the round by that name at our recent in-person flower communion service. I know this rose will open. For long months, we, like many singers, have been just squares in a quilt of faces, muted, hearing only our own voices and a distorted accompaniment. We have learned a new meaning for latency, the lag of sounds and images carried imperfectly through the ether. Hungry for harmony, we have recorded take after lonely take over guide tracks, finally choosing our best to be painstakingly layered into a collage of parts. When the two of you stood at last on the outdoor stage, still masked, still 6 feet apart, but in the same time and place, and sang that simple round, the way you listened to one another, your living, breathing responsiveness, like lovers turning in their sleep, molding the curves of their bodies to each other's warmth without fully waking, like wind cleaving to the rise and fall of the ground, or sea swirling into the hollows of a tide pool, like starlings constantly measuring the distance between wingtips, matching speed and direction as they spiral and shapeshift through twilit sky. All of this returned to us, something so deeply missed that we had not wanted to name it.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open.
I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
I know this rose will open.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. My name is Diana Claghorn, I use the pronouns she, her, and hers, and I will be your worship associate today. If this is your first time here, we're glad you've come. This is a welcoming congregation, and we're always working on how to better welcome and care for one another. Whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we want to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to take restorative action. We affirm that this is deeply felt and commit our congregation to be in right relations with the Indigenous communities, align in solidarity, support Indigenous projects, and care properly for the land. Please take a moment now to prepare yourself and your space for our time together. You might get a candle and a way to light it so that you can join us in the chalice lighting at home. And I invite you to share in the comments where you are by writing, "I carry the flame in," whatever town or city you are from. Now, let us kindle our flames, or the inner flame of our hearts, with the words by Hildegard von Bingen. O Spirit of fire, bringer of comfort, life in the life of every creature.
O in spiritus lautivisit.
O fire of love, O breath of mystery, so sweet savor in our hearts.
Unde voluntas ascendit, et gustum anime tribuit.
You are holy, healing deep wounds and anointing those perilously broken.
Mentes hominum dete flagrant et tabernacula. Quae laureis operibus
The short prelude by Johann Sebastian Bach is the first piece, complex piece that I learned by this composer. And at the age of 8, 9, it sometimes felt like an ordeal. I couldn't always understand where the melody is and where it goes and what happens there. I also did not like all the resulting harmonies. So it didn't sound exactly like a cacophony, but still it took some intimate listening and just spending some time, just being in a relationship with the sound and melodical figures to find pleasure in playing this piece. If I were to describe it in just a few words today, I would use words like well-rounded, robust and healthy, happily grounded, joyous. And F major key is one of the well-rounded and happily grounded keys to begin with. And so the melody, the main melodical figure begins in F major, and it kind of circles around. If you listen to it in a slower tempo, it sounds like this. And then the same round keeps repeating in different voices and different keys, and most of the time in the major key. But then it comes in the minor key as well. And there are different events happening along the way. There are different variations on the same round. The circle stays the same, but it might be a little bit modified to help with the modulation from one key to another. Like, for example. So we go for this, the duration of 2 pages. We go, like, travel through different events. They're not the most dramatic events in life, but still there is a little bit of drama involved. However, no matter what happens, whether we're in a minor key or major key, the same well-rounded figure stays for the duration of the whole piece. And so there is something that is being created in time, in a continuum, and there is always something that is always present as a constant as well, something that's not happening but just being. And overall, that creates a sense of spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being.
Please join me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
Now we have 3 songs about play. The first one is called Somebody Come and Play, and it's from the first season of Sesame Street when it was sung by its composer, Joe Raposo. Joe was an only child, and his wife, Pat Collins, has said that this is not a song of regret, but of an only child asking someone to come and play ball before the sun goes down. The next one is music by John W. Work III. He traveled the United States, mostly in the South, asking people to play for him so he could record the new musical forms that were coming out of the African-American tradition. And the third piece is called Amabile Alleluia, which means a loving Alleluia. Sarah Quartel is a young composer from Canada. She's 37, and she comes like a breath of fresh air, and her goal seems to be to write intelligent but playful, fun music that inspires children and adults to enjoy singing as much as possible.
Somebody come and play. Somebody come and play today. Somebody come and smile the smiles and sing the songs. It won't take long. Somebody come and play today.
Work, work, work. This is the story of three men named John Wesley Work and Scuppernong. The first John Wesley Work escaped slavery and settled in Tennessee. He was a musician, and he became the director of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, one of the most amazing groups in the history of American music. His son was also a musician and also became the director of the Fisk Jubilee Singers, and he sang with the group for decades. He was a very fine baritone. And he's written some songs which are still in the repertoire. One of the most beautiful is called Soliloquy. And his son was also a musician, a composer, a choral director, and a man who gathered music all across the South in the early part of the 20th century when new musical forms were coming into life. And some of his recordings of this music that he sort of investigated and documented, those recordings are still in the Library of Congress. He wrote some wonderful music, including the piece I'm going to play, which is called Visitor from Town, and it's the last movement from a group called Scuppernong, a little suite. So Scuppernong is this area, very rural in North Carolina along the Scuppernong River. The name Scuppernong is, it developed from the Algonquin word for the river. And along this river grows a grape called the Scuppernong grape, which apparently makes a fantastic muscatel. And so on his journeys, John Wesley Work III stayed along this river and was inspired by the life there to write this suite, a quiet area. Somebody comes visiting from a larger town. Maybe it was John Wesley Work visiting, I'm not sure. But this is a very descriptive piece of what it was like. A little bit dreary, maybe, wonderful, but not too exciting. And then something happens, and then it settles down again. And at the end, well, you'll hear what happens at the end, and you can decide for yourself what it means.
There's room enough. Oh, there's room enough. If everybody made a little space right by their side, oh, there'd be room enough. There's love enough. Oh, there's love enough. If everybody folded out their arms open wide, oh, there'd be love enough. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm always right behind you. I'm always right behind you. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm always right behind you. When I go. Oh, when I go, just tell me that you love me and make some room for me by the sea. When I go, and if I'm right behind you, you can fall back. You can let go. I'm right behind you. And if I'm never gonna let you right go, I'm never gonna let you go. I'm always right behind you. I'm always right behind you. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm never gonna let you go. I'm always right behind you. When we go, oh, when we go, just tell me that you love me and make some room for me by the sea. When we go.
Despite the struggles, life unfolds in a beautiful new form. Wise words from the beginning of our service from Brian. Many years ago, I started to dream of moving to the country for a quieter, slower life. I dreamed of a home where I could enjoy nature and plants and animals and a garden and a space for my pottery. This was a dream that I always assumed would wait until retirement to obtain. But during the pandemic and the lockdown, many of our lives changed. With these changes came the realization that sometimes we should intentionally change our own lives, if we have the means to make our dreams happen, since we don't know how long we'll have to enjoy those dreams. I'm still young and spry, and I have this dream now. I'm able to tend to the garden and haul food to the animals and walk the hillsides and do my pottery. I wanted to take advantage of this time that I have now to enjoy the things, since I don't really know how long I will want to enjoy them or be able to. Being able to work remotely from the countryside is now possible in a way that it never was before because of the stay-at-home order and widespread broadband internet. An incredible opportunity blossomed for me out of something that was a deep struggle for many. I recognize that I'm going to also have some struggles because I've moved far away from many of my friends and my family and my community. I doubt I will lose them, but I've become more physically distant. But I've also recognized that I'm going to have the opportunity to build beautiful new relationships. They'll unfold during this journey. I've been so grateful to discover that this community at UUCB has so warmly embraced my new digital self. The committees and groups that I'm in have been loving and supportive of my decision to move out of the area but remain part of those communities, knowing full well that despite my promise to come back and visit, I won't be there week to week. Emerging into our new in-person normal will never be the same as it was before. Many people's lives have transitioned during this time in a way that means that they will never be back in the same way that they were. We have all changed in some ways, some of us in small ways, and some of us in large ways. This year has had a lot of change for me, and in some times it's been very difficult. I've learned to recognize how short life can be. One of the challenges of moving away is knowing that I will not be able to regularly take part in the music program at UUCB anymore. The music program has been such a huge part of my development. If it weren't for Brian's loving encouragement to face my stage fright and my fears of performing, I wouldn't have blossomed into the slightly more confident person that I am today in comparison to who I was before. I wouldn't have grown into being a singer. Maybe some of that confidence has helped me develop the strength to make the hard choice to follow this kind of crazy dream. Being further away physically from this community that has helped me grow so much is going to be a struggle. But I feel that this is a chapter in my life that will unfold into a beautiful new form. And that's a form that I'm excited to become.
Now we come to a time in the service to open our hearts and spirits. During the silence, I invite you to write in the comments section joys, concerns, sorrows, challenges, milestones, and I invite us all to hold these in the loving embrace of this community. Nada te turbe. What does that one mean for anybody? Elaine?
It reminds me of Teze singing, which is repetitive and sometimes sung in rounds. And I find this song very peaceful and comforting. And I have a coworker who's from El Salvador and doesn't speak English very well, but I like to talk with her, and I told her that we were singing this song at church. She's Catholic, and she knew immediately, as soon as I started saying, nada te turbe, nada te espante, she immediately picked it up and started saying the words. So it was a nice connection there too.
Well, I love this one as it is so comforting and gentle.
And it reminds me, and we have this hanging in our house because my husband is a devotee. Can you see it? It's Mayor Baba's message, really. Don't worry, be happy. and so it's very peaceful and comforting. So I like it very much.
I just wanted to say quickly that it's another one that's very meditative, even if you don't know the word, you don't know what the words mean. And when you take the meaning of the words, that makes it even more appropriate, meaningful.
I'm so moved by this one. I love to sing it and I love to hear it. It's very stately, you know, and there's at the same time that it's comforting, it's sorrowful too. And the words just, they're so powerful to me. I've looked at several translations. I love ours because I love the idea that those that seek God will never go wanting. I think that's very powerful. And that the divine alone fills us. Nothing can trouble, nothing can scare us. It's just, I think the first time we sung it, I wept.
Oh.
I'm very grateful to have learned about this song through our church.
Thank you for joining together to talk about The Angel's Blessing. It's by Debbie Friedman with choral arrangement by Gerald Custer, and our version is adapted by Eric Howe.
One of my really most favorite pieces that we sing is The Angel's Blessing. And as some of you know, the sopranos and the basses sing something in English, which is very beautiful. And then the tenors, and I'm an alto, and my favorite part is the alto part because we sing it in Hebrew. And we name the four archangels. May Michael be on my right side. May Gabriel be at my left. In front of me, Uriel, and behind me, Raphael. And all above me, the divine presence was Shekinah. I just find it extremely beautiful and touching. One of my favorites. Thank you.
There we go. I too love this piece. And I find myself thinking of it often. And when my daughter went to the University of California at Santa Barbara, out near the ocean is a beautiful, huge labyrinth. And every time I would go there, I would make a point of going to the labyrinth. And I would sing this song to myself as I walk the labyrinth. And it was just so much the embodiment of the four archangels. You know, I would walk one way and I would see the ocean, and the labyrinth would turn me around and I'd see the mountain, and then I'd see the campus, and then I'd see the town. And it just, in this amazing space with the ocean and the mountains. And I really truly felt like all around me was Shekinah and the blessing of God. And I just really felt very supported and loved and blessed by doing it. So I love this song.
Well, I love this for a lot of reasons. And one is it's so Unitarian, even though we have the Shekinah, because it's like, may my right hand, not traditional prayer, but may my own right hand bring me to my own godliness. And godliness is far enough from the capital G God that many of us are escaping, that it just feels very Unitarian. It's like there's still spirituality, there's still a vision that draws us ahead, but it's not in the traditional God language. And I love the fact that that it does have the Shekinah, and that it's bringing together our version of Christianity or whatever we are with Judaism, as opposed to having there be a split between the Old and New Testament or whatever. So
I liked it originally because it was something we started singing in the fall at the Jewish holidays. And of course it was appropriate for that, but I like that it fits in to, as Lynn said, Unitarianism as well. It's very encompassing. And even, you know, I've heard when we've sung it or before we sang it, Brian has given us definitions of what is Shekinah and some of the other things in it. And even if you can't remember what the thing was, you know, it's something about divine, and it means that the divine is with us.
For coming to talk about the prayer, which you recorded many months ago, right?
August 2020.
Wow.
We were working on it a year ago.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So this piece obviously still feels like it's important to you too. Can you share a little bit about what it says to you?
Katie?
It just felt really hopeful in you know, at the time things were kind of bleak, and it felt hopeful. And like you can find strength somehow. I mean, you know, listening to Marcel sing it, because her voice always sounds like a whole chorus of angels lifting you up. There's so much there in the melody line, and the two voices, the duet, the harmony, the Italian with the English. It's just great. It's just a beautiful song.
And so much fun to sing. Well, especially with you. Haha.
Haha.
I remember we tried singing it first outside, because we were trying to socially distance. So we were at one end and the other end of the bench outside in the patio.
In the wind.
In the wind, trying to record it.
Right, and then we're in the fireside room and the light's getting dimmer and we're like, yay, we really got it.
And do we record it with our phones or do it with two phones? Or, yeah, all those decisions made on the spot.
All those technical things to think about. And so you mentioned in the music, it's this interweaving of the two lines and the hopefulness in it. Yeah, I think you both sing in English and you both sing in Italian.
Yeah. No, it just, to me, it's just all of that, getting to do it with Katie and getting to be sort of indoors with Katie on opposite sides of the fireplace then. For me, it's about the voices. And there's one part where Katie's voice just soars on top. Like she repeats a phrase that I do, and that basket weaving of voices. But for us, since we've known each other for so long, we've been such close friends for a very long time. So that interweaving of the song and the voices and the hope and of our friendship, I felt that deeply.
The translation, Marcel.
A world of justice and of hope. Everyone gives his hand to his neighbor, a symbol of peace and brotherhood.
Or actually in the English part too, we ask that life be kind and watch us from above. We hope each soul will find another soul to love.
Oh.
Let this be our prayer, just like every child need to find a place. Guide us with your grace, whatever the spirit may be that guides you. Give us faith so we will be safe.
I pray you be our eyes and watch us where we go and help us to be wise in times when we don't know. Let this be our prayer when we lose our way. Lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, to a place where we'll be safe. La luce che tu dai, I pray we'll find your light nel cuore resterà and hold it in our hearts. Ricordarci che when stars go out each night, l'eterno stelle sei. Nella mia preghiera, let this be our prayer. When shadows fill our day, lead us to a place, guide us with your grace, give us faith so we'll be safe. Sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza, un mondo di
As we commit together to making this a loving community, we take time to remember that UUCB needs our gifts and support. We invite you now to make an offering. Each week, half of our offerings are shared with good neighbor organizations who need our financial support. And we hope you will continue to practice generosity with them during these difficult times. This month, our good neighbor is the Lavender Seniors of the East Bay, who are helping LGBTQ+ older adults age with health, happiness, and pride. Offerings of all values are received with gratitude. Details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as the offertory begins. Thank you.
A year ago, on another road trip to the American Southwest, there was a very strong impulse arising in me that I need to begin playing a Native American style flute. I was never imagining myself playing a flute before. I'm happy with keyboards, but I couldn't shake this impulse off easily. So I acquired my first Native American style flute and started making noises and learning how to use this instrument. And what unfolded was also that I felt that more of my body was asking to participate in the music making process. It's as if a new level of wholeness was available now, and some things that could be shaken off as unnecessary because they're not serving internally, and they could release new space for soul to speak at a different language. So that process of growth and finding new ways of belonging to this life and to land, process of finding deeper and freer of any kind of fears or judgments voice for myself, that was part of it. It wasn't just picking up a new instrument during pandemic. It was a deeply meaningful spiritual process that helped me also, or felt as if I was folding into myself more. And for some reason, this particular landscape, border of southern Utah, northern Arizona, and the particular instrument that is native to this land were serving as a catalyst for this process. It felt very personal to be there and to begin playing this instrument, and it still does. It was a process of letting things, internal things, or layers of myself that were ready to be released, just to be released and shake off parts of myself that were not needed anymore and free up some space for a new way of the soul unfurling its wings.
please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It's been so good to be together today, even virtually. Before we shift to our coffee hour on Zoom, may I remind you to check out all the things that are going on in the congregation, even during the pandemic, by exploring our website, uucb.org. There, you can find a link in News to the week ahead, our weekly email newsletter, which includes a list of activities, announcements, and contact information. And as we prepare to leave this worship service, here are a few things to note. First, celebrate the Buddha's birthday with a literature, film, and drama contingent at 12:30 today on Zoom. They will be discussing the Dalai Lama's cat. If you haven't read the book and you're not a Buddhist, you're still welcome. Your perspective is appreciated. Second, the Social Justice Council will hold their monthly meeting on Zoom at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, July 14th. Our annual Congrats to Grads will be the first thing on the agenda. This has been a trying and disjointed year for high school seniors, and a big show of support to our community would be really great. Third, summer fun at Freestone. Get the camping gear ready and gather the kids for a weekend of fun. Friday, July 30th from 5 p.m. until Sunday, August 1st. Bring the camping supplies, the food you need, and whatever you think you would need for some fun. If you plan to attend, please RSVP with Reverend Catboyle. And in just a moment, please join us in singing our closing song, For All That Is My Life. The words will be on screen.
Sure, I'd be happy to share about this For All That Is Our Life. At first, I didn't think this meant that much to me, and then I remembered singing this at a point in my life when I was, having a hard time with something or other, and crying. And as we were singing, where is it? For all life is a gift, and I was thinking, all life is not a gift, and so I found it was challenging. It was challenging, but it was challenging in a good way to just see what those words and what that thought means to me. All life is a gift, and how I can make sense of that.
Well, I was just thinking about the music, and it reminds me of something from the score of Godspell. It's got that sort of bubbly, effervescent feeling to it. It's kind of accessible and poppy. And is that a word, poppy? And yet it has a kind of it's quite a deep meaning. So I enjoy it.
The effect that when I read through that first verse, it struck me as almost a definition of why we bother to come to church. And the same is true for the rest of the verses. I do have to add that what Elaine had to say about those difficult words, though, the words are not without meaning. But
so I felt that there are words of wisdom there, and that the line about giving thanks even for sorrow and failure and fear is powerful for me when I sing it. But the melody and the tempo and the song just doesn't reach to the words I'm singing. So I feel that the composer needed to struggle more.
Okay.
What I had in mind was a reaction to Karen's statement about the music lacking gravitas. And I think some of the things, the song lists all these things that are in our life, and some are big and some are little and some are trite. And I think I kind of agree with her that the music is a little bit trite. But I think we have to recognize that all of these things, big and little, are in our life. And it's what makes us us.
It's a lovely song for Unitarians. And as I said before, I was raised in a family where it felt as if you gave something, you ended up being poorer. And here it's like you can give, you can build the common good and make our own days glad. And they're not opposed to give to others and to make your own day glad.
I'd like Brian's opinion about the piece to be voiced in this. Wouldn't that be interesting as a counterbalance to all of us naysayers?
The piano part is fun to play, and the tune stays in my head a little bit, which brings the words into my head, and I like the words a lot. Seems to fit the times we're in now. It's hard. It's really hard, but all the things that go into making our life, even the difficult things, are part of our life, and they're what make us whole. So I really like this hymn.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fear for hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
May your life be as a song, resounding with the dawn to sing awake the light. May nothing trouble, nothing frighten. May your right hand lead you to your godliness, to Shekinah. May your fear burn away. I know this rose will open.